So this is the second video I'm making on the channel, and yeah, the first video was, I haven't uploaded it yet, so just so you know, I haven't yet uploaded the first video I made a few days ago, but I will. And I think I'm going to title it No Longer Human, something like that, which refers to a book title, because I feel like I'm no longer human. You know, I feel like that guy from No Longer Human. I just feel totally, and you know, the reason why I bring this up is because now it's gotten even, I've just come from another bad experience, and well, I guess I want to talk about it. Always a little nervous out here because, like, this bullshit, man. My fucking anxiety, like, I'm nervous about everything, you know. Always fucking nervous that I'm not, somebody's watching or whatever. Always fucking nervous that I'm fucking up something. You know, I have this generalized anxiety nowadays, I guess. You know, and it's not good. It's like, so the experience was, you know, I was in the bakery, and it was a total disaster. You know, I asked for a sandwich, and then, you know, the woman tells me something and I don't hear it. So, you know, I thought she was telling me to, like, go to the counter, or, like, you know, go to the cash registry, because this was like a long counter, you know, like a row where they was, on one side they were selling stuff, and on the other side they were also selling stuff, but in the middle there was a cash registry. And I thought she was telling me to go there, and I go there, and then she says something, and I go over, and I discover that she hadn't told me to do that, you know, and she was kind of chiding me, kind of reprimanding me for making the wrong move. And I think I made the wrong move like twice. I just didn't understand what the fuck she was saying to me. You know, and then I have like a piece of chocolate and the energy drink, and she counts those, you know, puts them into the machine for a total of, you know, for a total of like a small amount. And I'm like, wait, I also want a sandwich. And then she's like, no, you didn't say you want the sandwich. And then she points me to you know, this kind of like a list where they list the prices of the different types of sandwich. And I was like, well, I'm asking you what the price is, because I hadn't checked what the price is, because I was under the influence that I had already bought the sandwich. And so she orders me to look at the prices, you know, and then I'm like, okay, so I look at the total, and I'm like, this is too small, I also wanted a sandwich. And then she's like, well, you didn't say you want the sandwich. And I was like, no, I did. It's just too loud, you know, there's too much noise, so you didn't hear, or something like that. And then she was like, no, you didn't. And I just I just give up. I say, okay, fine. And then you know, it was just terrible. And then in the end, I just apologize for being a stupid idiot. You know, I'm like, I'm sorry, because I always end up not having any balls. I always end up being apologetic to strangers and people I don't know well, because I have no balls. So it really was a misinterpretation. Like I thought me mentioning the salami sandwich meant that, she got the message, I want the sandwich. But that's not how she understood the message. So it was just miscommunication. But then, she keeps telling me I didn't say it. And technically she is right. Because typically, when you just mention the name of the product, it means you want to buy it. That's the indication. So, I thought she got the message. But she didn't. And then I have to be the one to apologize, because really nobody was in the wrong. But I end up being apologetic. Because I can't stand up for myself. I can't stand up for myself. I can't. I have no balls in the real world. The only place where I have a semblance of balls is the internet. Or with people that I'm really close to. I can yell at them. I can say, yeah, you're wrong, whatever. But for some reason, strangers scare the fuck out of me to the point where I can't even stand up for myself. And it's really depressing. Because you should be able to do that. You should be able to stand up for yourself, but I can't. And, it just made me envious of their confidence, of their resilience, of a normal person, of a normie, right? And it made me think, like, why can't I be like them too? Because a long time ago I discovered that I'm not a normal person. It was many, many years ago that I discovered I wasn't normal. And I can never accept it. I keep coping about it, but I can never accept it. I think I'm gonna sit down because I'm less anxious when I'm sitting. I gather my thoughts, be more coherent. There's like a big stub here, like a big chunk of like dirt. Kind of give some support. Anyway, the point is that I have no confidence, and for a long time I've understood that I'm not a normal person. I feel really guilty. I feel really guilty for this mess up. I almost cried because of it. And there have been instances where I just cried after something awkward happened, when I embarrassed myself. I had one job, security guard job. I left it out from the previous video. I need to fill up the gaps, because I couldn't catch everything. I couldn't capture all of it, because I don't really think before I make these, because I can't. I can only make it on a whim. Anyway, so I had this job and it was terrible, like I really anxious. I left after about 5 shifts. And I remember the first morning I came home, I just bawled my eyes out. I cried in bed because of how anxious I was. You had to stake out, I guess. Stake out the particular, but it's not, I don't know if that's how you call it, but basically as a security guard you stake out the place. And after you're done, you have to go back to base. Like they have this base that you go back to. And you meet the boss, and it's like a control room. Almost like a war room, And he told me not to bring this chain. He had told me not to bring this, not to bring this key or not to bring that key. And I was just such a nervous mess. I brought I had bought all of them, not bought, brought all of them, pretty much. And then, he sort of reprimanded me for that. He wasn't very strict, but still. And then, my shirt wasn't tucked in. So he reprimanded me for that too. And I just felt like the entire room, just everywhere was, I don't know if it was true, but I felt like they were laughing and making fun of me, And this is a 20-year-old man. I was like 20 years old, maybe 21, I'm 22 now. I don't know if this was like probably last year or the year before. And I don't know if this is true, but I feel like this might not be true, but I feel like when I left the room, one woman, girl, female, whatever, was I feel like she called me a hobo because I had long hair then, very long hair. I looked messy. I think she called me a hobo, but maybe I'm just reading this in, By the way, I really don't like to call people women or men or, I have a sense of like aversion to gendered language. I don't like, just like I don't like racialized language. I also don't like gendered language, like as a principle. And it also just, on a visceral level, I hate it. Like, I don't want to call her a woman, a person, okay, whatever. Maybe you think that's cringy, but that's how I feel about it. Anyway. And, yeah, I mean, the point is, I went home and I cried. And that wasn't the first instance, I'm pretty sure, when that happened. There were other times where there were other times where I had embarrassed myself and then I cried. And it's mostly their fault because they started it, they instigated the fear in me. A lot of people just suck, especially in this country. Hungary. It's the kind of place where, better than Romania, better than Ukraine, better than the Baltic states. But the people are often horrific. They're just an abomination, They're not very nice. For somebody as, and this is just me being a pussy, but that's what it is. I'm just a pussy. I don't have balls, I don't have guts, which is what you need in this world. Even in a nice country, you need to have balls if you want to make something of yourself. And understand balls as a gender-neutral term. I don't give a shit. It's guts. Self-confidence. Refusing to give yourself to emotion. To, rather than reason. Like you have to stomp your foot and say, no, I'm right. But I can never do it. I just apologize like a bitch. Well, here I kind of pushed back. But I just ended up apologizing because I had this terrible urge to apologize. I don't know why. But, I guess the point that if you're a NEET, a kind of hermit type, if you have anxiety, social anxiety, then you'll understand when I say I can function in this world. I've written a poem, and maybe I'll try to recite the poem, because I just realized it's kind of relevant. Just let me pause and I'll come back. Okay, I managed to cut the video off, but whatever, I splice it together. Anyway, so here's the poem I wrote. Unfortunate thing. I am a fork with one prong, and the prong is crooked and too flaccid to hook your apple pie. And you can't eat the pie with your hands, because I smudged them with dirt. And you can't wash them because I broke the faucet. I'm a pillow with no cool side, or a comforter that's too short, so one leg sticks out in the night, and the draft from the window tickles it, and it runs goosebumps up your body. I think I'm terrible, the worst in the world, as I feel your nipples harden from the cold. Maybe you don't mind me. That's the poem. I kinda got it right, you know. I overdid the part with the worst, but, you know, whatever. Fuck it. It's good enough. I mean, in terms of pronunciation. Pronunciation is never perfect for me. But, you know, I'm not gonna go into it because it's too self-congratulatory. You know, I wouldn't analyze my own stuff, but, you know, it's just about how we make mistakes, and how the mistakes that we have, that we make, and the faults that we have, give us, you know, this level of charm where this is why you like me, like, at least partly. Like, of course I'm gonna fuck up. It makes me human. You know, I always have this desire for human beings to stop being so judgmental. And of course I'm extremely judgmental myself. You know, I can't really heed my own advice. You know, I also came up with this line that, you want to change the world, but you refuse to change with it. You know, that's just a scenario, like a story in my head where one of the characters says that, you know, and you know, and I guess the point is that, you know, this is not another line, but basically this is the underlying point, that the world is cruel, but you don't have to be, you know. Like, you don't have to be like them, but it's very difficult not to be like them when you're also part of the world. How could you expect something else to come out of the same substance? There are very few people who come out different, who are really, really, really good. And, you know, they're literally built different. They're not beholden to the same rules. And, you know, a lot of, like, internet gurus of whatever orientation have the same shtick, that they are different. You go to Jordan Peterson or any of these guys, left wing, right wing. A lot of these people think they have escaped something. They think they have escaped, these incel and red pill and black pill types especially. They think they've escaped something. Even some NEETs think they've escaped something. They cope. They pretend that, they're running away from society is some kind of victory. And, you listen to a guy who thought he made it out of society, and then you discover, he has killed himself. So on the one hand, he preaches that this is how you get out of it. This is how you get out of the matrix, he says, or something like that. Sorry. And then he dies. He can't. Like you have this meme that NEETs like to post on 4chan, I guess, where, that's just kind of like the meme where, if you're NEET, you have escaped society. And all you've done is, you haven't escaped anything, you've just been pushed in. Your space has been reduced from the entire world, or an entire country, or an entire city to 4 walls, or your house, or your apartment, and you think you've accomplished something. They all think that every ideology thinks they've accomplished something. The moment you build an ideology, you fall under the illusion that something is being done. But you really have to understand this on a deeper level now. Obviously, some ideologies have done things. But the point is, have they gotten us? Have they gotten us out of the gutter? No. We're still in the gutter. Right now, there's a war. Actually, there are other wars that are being fought at. The Middle East and Africa is a war zone. This much of it. People are killing each other, and I don't know much about it, to be honest, but it's things like one or in South America where you have one gang and wanting to overthrow the other guys because they had done something to them previously. It's bullshit. It's the same retribution that Attack on Titan shows you. It's, the endless cycle of hate. Attack on Titan shows you that. And what you get in the end of it is the rumbling. You should really watch that anime, by the way. You really need to see that anime if you haven't. Immediately. When other people tell you that you should watch something, maybe they're not right, but I am right. Watch that shit. The author, Isayama, he so perfectly understands humanity. So perfectly understands the cyclical nature of it all. The pointless bullshit. It's pointless. None of that. But like you even have an antinatalist character in it, who says, well, we need to euthanize ourselves. And, I haven't been able to find another solution myself. Now, mind you, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that there is a vaccine, kind of ironic in the COVID era. But, we don't have a vaccine to administer to everybody. That we just make them go to sleep. We don't have a collective vaccine to just leave this earth. And not just humans, but all life on earth. That would solve the problem. That would be the only thing that would solve the problem. If you really think all this mess is a problem, then there will not be another solution other than extinction. But the depressing thing about that is that that's not going to happen. People are not going to go extinct by themselves. I very much doubt climate change will wipe everyone out. It would be too good. No, that's not gonna happen. COVID will not wipe everyone out either. So, and you might think, okay, that's good, but think about what's to come. You really think about what's to come. You really think the wars are gonna stop? You have any kind of evidence for that? It's not gonna stop. The same shit is gonna keep happening over and over and over. But that's not really the point. I want to make a more conclusive argument about that. I need to have figures and stuff. But the point of this video is that I just can't function in society. And you can see how one's personality influences one's views about life, But you need to be careful to distinguish them. Your misery is not an argument for pessimism. I'm saying it's not this. I'm not doing that. But it's just stream of consciousness. But they're not the same. You have to make separate arguments if you really think life sucks. Which I do. I don't think there's any hope, but I have to make separate arguments and be better prepared to make that argument. I really just want to talk about me right now, because I'm an egotist, and all of us are egotists in the sense that you're stuck in this person, and maybe it's one person, and maybe it's every second is a new person. I don't really care. The personhood kind of makes sense in a way, but in another way you can clearly tell that the guy you were 10 years ago is not the guy you are now, or the gal, the gal, the girl, the whatever else, the dog. But it kind of makes sense. I kind of understand what you mean by person. There's a kind of continuation, preserved through memory, I guess. That's one argument. But the point is that you're stuck in this person. It's kind of ridiculous how egotistic all of us are necessarily. That there's no escape from yourself, and so you think that your problems are also fucking important, and what you put out there is so important. And don't just think that because there's value in what you have to say. You also think that just because it's you. So anybody who claims to not have an ego is maybe there's 0.0001% of them who really don't have an ego. Personally, I never trusted. By the way, do you find this view boring? I don't know if I'm retaining viewership with this fucking shit. I don't know, man. I really ought not be thinking about that shit. I just don't want to show my face because I hate looking at myself. And I guess I want to retain a sense of privacy. I don't fucking know. But I'm guessing it's getting pretty boring. Here. Can you tell I'm pretty fat by this? Whatever. I'm not that fat, but pretty chunky. Anyway, I bought I bought the food that the one mentioned. Hold on, I'll show you that. Here. This is what I suffered for. I'm not vegan because I'm lazy, but whatever. Yeah, I do agree with vegans, although I don't know much about nutrition. But this is what I suffered for like a minute. But it was really bad. The memory will haunt me. Oh, fuck me, I hate it so much. And the thing is, I knew it was gonna happen. Like, I always have this anxiety that something's gonna go wrong, and, you know, shit goes wrong so often for me, at least socially, but even in other ways, that I anticipate it, literally. And then when it happens, I'm like, of course. Like, I sometimes I just like, okay, let's walk into the suffering, you know. Because I just know something ought to go badly. And it is special. Like, most people are way too confident to fuck up this badly so often, you know. It's kind of snowing right now. Can you see? I have no... yeah. And, you know, I'm in a sweater. So I'm gonna freeze to fucking death. But, you know, you can appreciate that you're not homeless. At least I have a place to live. As long as I have a place to live, I think, well, that's not enough. I need food. But, you know, like, the very basics I'm already grateful for. Like, thank God I don't have to sleep here. Thank fucking God, at least for now I'm okay. But you never know how long it's gonna last. I don't have any hope that... I just feel like it's gonna go badly. You know, like I have no hope that it's gonna go well. You know. Sorry, I'm really hungry. You hungry too? I have an energy drink too. Like a chocolate bar thing. I don't know what it's called, but it's like this milk that you you have chocolate icing, I guess, and there's like this condensed milk that's has some stupid name. I don't know what it is, but it's yummy, you know. Anyway, and I hate to go to the grocery store too, because it's just hell. Everywhere I go is just hell. I just fucking hate it so much. The fucking pain it causes me, man, is just unbearable. Yeah. The sun. I don't know, that looks pretty. But yeah, it's kind of annoying how we're stuck in this illusion. So much pain would be mitigated if people didn't think so. If people were not packed to their own identity. You know, so much posturing would go away, so much me would go away. But then if we just resurface in terms of groups, you know, nationalism, things like that, if it take over, ideology always takes over. And so that would replace your self-identity, even if you were somehow stripped from it, you know. There's no hope for this. There's just no... you know, it's the same old shit. If you think about the kind of people reproduce, well, it's not... it's not the, you know, let everyone be alone types. You know what I mean? Like the people who are like very intelligent and considerate are typically not the one reproducing. If you think about it, to have children, you have to have this level of craziness and stupidity and self-importance. And yeah, you have to have this ego, the group ego that I was talking about, or your self-ego. You know, to think that it's okay to, you know, that you just have to do it to satisfy some kind of a desire, you know, some kind of, it's important because of me, because of the group, blah blah blah. And you have to be a little fucking crazy to think it's okay, that you don't worry yourself to death every time your child leaves the house. I would worry myself to death all day, every second. And that's why antinatalism will not work probably. Well, it's definitely not gonna work. I watch Emendem. I like him, but he's just delusional about this. He thinks antinatalism can win. It can't win. Precisely because the people like us will not reproduce, and the people who say it's okay will reproduce. And they will push the same bullshit on other people. So you can kiss goodbye to an atheistic state. As long as people reproduce, most of them will be the ideologues, the religious, the stupid, the racist. And so they will take over the earth. And I'm talking about Christians. But it doesn't matter. I mean, this is nothing to do at all with ethnicity at all. I don't give me that shit. I'm just saying that it's between the people who say, let's just quit, and the people who say let's keep going, and the people who say let's keep going will always win. It doesn't matter what religion you're talking about. It doesn't matter what ethnicity you're talking about. It does not fucking matter at all. One is as stupid as the other, pointless. I'm really not keeping on subject, but I guess, I can't. Maybe I should just continue, and then maybe I will talk more about this subject. But I mean, I really talked about it a little. Like, I just can't sustain myself in this world. There's just no fucking hope at all. I mean, I can't see myself doing anything. I don't know how those people can function every day, serving those people. How they can talk, how they can be so confident. I don't know. Anyway, but let's just fucking talk about this more interesting stuff. All my videos are gonna be like this, by the way. I have very little self-discipline, so I just go where I want. That's one of my major problems. Got me in a lot of trouble. No self-discipline at all, basically. Which is not really the same as laziness, but whatever. So I'm just picking up like little pieces and clouds that run through my head. Like there was this, maybe you know about this guy called Sargon of Akkad, and he was bitching about how people who don't reproduce are selfish, and some conservatives love that shit. And just to be clear, I'm pretty much a liberal social democrat, if that even means anything, but whatever. And I think anybody right of center is pretty much guaranteed to be a moron, just so you know. That's what I think. But and we can talk about why they are morons, but one reason is that is what I just said, this collective ego. So these people will think the motherland, or the race, or the humanity, or whatever, is more important than the people. So you have like these nationalists and these far right types. What I've noticed, and of course they would deny this, but I think to them the idea of motherland is more important than the motherland itself. Because they will not want immigration, So they don't want something that is obviously good. Obviously, if you don't have enough people in the country because of low birth rates, you want more people to come in. And they don't want that to happen. Even if you could push the birth rates up, it would still be a good thing if more people came. But they don't. And that's how they are more interested in the idea of our people than our people themselves. You know what I mean? They would want what's not best for the people because they're ultimately guided not by some kind of reason, not by some kind of love and understanding, but by fucking ideology, stupid, brain-dead racism. Fuck him. You know. So, you know, he was saying that, I'm not saying anything about him, I'm just saying that he said, I'm not saying he's a racist, I don't know, maybe, but he just said, you're selfish because you're not continuing the human race. And it's like the opposite is true. You're selfish because you're continuing the human race. The human race, or whatever subgroup you wanna, you know, talk about. I'm gonna walk because I'm gonna die. It's just an extension of your own ego. It's nothing more. It doesn't mean anything. It has no actual purpose other than to mitigate some bullshit in your head that I'm important. You know, you're extending the circle, but the circle always comes from you. So, you know, you see yourself in the circle, and that's, if you did not see yourself in the circle, you wouldn't care. Just so you know. The only reason you ever care about others is because you somehow think it's the same group that you belong to. That's why the racist already cares about his race or ethnicity. That's why the humanist only cares about humans, not animals. And that's why the decent people like us only care about everyone, because we think we're everyone. But if you know, unless we're some kind of special person, we definitely only care because we see ourselves in it. Like, it just has to be. If you look at how the world works, I can't really prove this, but it has to be like this, because you know how group dynamics works. It's just obvious that people have this sense of it's me. You know, in them I see myself, and that's why I care about them. And that's precisely why it's still egotistic. So if selfishness is egotistic, then group selfishness is also egotistic. And even if you talk about every human, you want all of humanity to continue, well, so what? If and you know, it could be justified if humanity continuing was good for it. But what evidence do you really have that it's good for it? Do you not see that as the years go by, okay, maybe, and I'm talking generally, like, I'm not talking every 20 years, because obviously, in a way, the world has been getting better. But if you look at history in large chunks, and you look at how many atrocities there were before Christ, you know, BC, maybe you'll find a couple, you know. But as the years go by, there's more and more atrocities. That's one of the things I wanted to mention. I wanted to expand upon. You know, and what that means is the world has, in a way, been getting worse for humans. Not in a relative sense, but in a, you know, there's two ways of measuring statistics. One is, you know, relatively. So you relativize the number, or you look at the whole number. There's a name for that, but I'm not remembering. Relative and whole, complete, I don't know. And I'm saying, if you look at the whole number rather than the relative number, it's only been getting worse. And, you know, I think there's an argument to be made that the whole number, you know, the sum total of the suffering, you know, the sum total of the suffering has increased. And so that's why the whole number is more important. So from where does this assumption come that the relative number is how we should measure this thing, how we should measure human progress? Because again, if the suffering is real, even if relatively speaking there's been less. Because ultimately speaking, in terms of the whole number, the sum total has increased just because there are more humans. And, if you look at the human-made atrocities, obviously the worst was the 20th century. But even if you just look at natural evils, obviously there's a lot more people who suffer from people suffering from cancer now than they were 2,500 years ago. You know what I mean? So if you measure it like that, it's really cold. If you measure it like that, the human world has really been getting worse. And I think there's an argument to be made that we should stop talking in relative terms and actually face reality, which is I should know this word, but hold on a second. Yeah, it's absolute. It's absolute. That's what I was missing. Absolute terms. And I'm saying we should look at it in terms of absolutes, because that's reality. Taking the relative is just some kind of way of lying in a way. It's a way of twisting reality to think that things have gotten better, where in a very important way, okay, this is not mathematical illiteracy, in a very important way, the human world has only been getting worse. So 2,500 years ago, there was a lot less human suffering than there is now. And this is also an argument for why progress is not linear. That it's very much some kind of cycle. So if progress was linear, then why was the 20th century the worst century for human beings? Well, there's an explanation, and the explanation is that all the ideologies have had come together, and then there were more people than ever before, and then you had more advanced technology than ever before. So we know that the atomic bomb was deployed for the first time on Japan, and we still have that threat. And so you can see that the so-called progress of more technology, more people, and arguably more ideology, if you think that's a good thing. Humans have become more intelligent, right? So you could say because they became more intelligent, they have more ideology. And so so you can see that from all of these sources of so-called progress, terrible things happened, that terrible things came that were worse than anything that had come before. And so that's what I mean, that progress is certainly not linear. In fact, you could make an argument that progress is reversing. That the more progress, quote unquote, you have, the more degeneration you have, so to speak. The more pain, suffering, death, dysfunction you get. Because people are smarter, so they make more ideologies, they make more technology, there's more of them. And that will result, like it has before, in more suffering. And so, if you really think, the big guy for this is Steven Pinker and people like that, who think that humanity is a lot better, the human world is a lot better than it used to be. And I even saw a debate he did. He was in a debate about this, and he was like, well, my chances are of getting bludgeoned to death when I walk home from this venue is significantly smaller than it was 200 or 300 years ago. And of course Steven Pinker is right when he says that, but the point is he ignores the bigger picture that I just laid out. I'm sorry if, the reason why I'm so jumpy is because it's fucking cold as shit. I'm going to make this argument in a better way, I think, at some point. But, so that's why I have no hope. You could go into more detail, but There doesn't seem to be any hope. If you look at how the world actually functions, you know, you look at how the people who don't procreate tend to be the most peaceful, less problematic people in the world. You know, how they will be entrenched by those who want to keep the project going, and how they are typically, generally speaking, crazier. And all that stuff that I just said about population and technology and ideology, how people just become smarter, and as they become smarter and they become more powerful, the outcomes become worse. If you approach the statistics the honest way, you know, and if you say, yeah, it's really getting worse. And in a way you could say that it's getting better if you look at the animals, because humans have wiped out a lot of animal species, and if you're antinatalist or nativist or something like that, then you think that's a good thing because they don't have to suffer anymore. And I agree, you know. But listen, the point is that there is no hope. The point is that there is no hope. And just to be clear, even though I want life to go extinct, don't advocate any kind of action to that degree other than non-procreation. You know, don't procreate, fuck it, don't bother. You know, but you know, I don't support anybody taking active action to extinct the human world or the animal world, because first of all, it's not gonna work. That's the first thing. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna, you know, it's not going to get the job done. Like, don't be fucking stupid, right? Some of these delusional murderers who think they're bringing justice to the world by killing some innocent people, that's not the solution. Moron, you know. What I advocate for is the philosophy of giving up. So nothing crazy here. What I'm saying is that you should just give up. Don't bother. Just sit on your ass, enjoy yourself, make some arguments, make a hot coffee. Just give up. Give up on the human race. Don't give up on your life, I'm not saying that. But give up on the human race, give up on hope. And enjoy yourself. That's what George Carlin said too. You know, he was smart, not crazy. Right? A lot of smart people have said similar things. It just probably sounds crazier because I'm a crazy man in the forest. But it's not as crazy as it sounds. I'm basically saying what people like George Carlin were saying. And, you know, people like Isayama, the cyclical nature of history. You know, there are some people that I look up to that, you know, David Benatar, Emendem. John Gray is another one, he's a philosopher. He was saying, he has this pessimistic book, you know, that I read some of it, where, you know, he says, well, history is clearly cyclical, and you know, there's no such thing as progress in the human world, you know, because although technology and intelligence is increasing, clearly something bad will always get us. So he mentioned torture, for example, how torture came back into the discourse. Slavoj Žižek was talking about that too. You know, and I mean, that's one example, but that's, you know, it's not really a great example. I mean, the main point is not something small like torturing, like you know, torture in the Middle East. The main point is that things will always go badly, because that's just the nature of the world. And, you know, if you have a counter argument to that, please provide it. I just don't see how you're correct. So, you know, that's all. See if you agree. And I'll get the fuck out of here because it's really cold. Bye.